Chapter 603. Web of Lies Part 1. The array enveloping the first floor of Solus's tower was something they had developed in case Lith managed to find a mana geyser while being on the brink of death. It allowed Solus to harness the energy of the mana geyser to heal all kinds of wounds almost instantly and to share part of her life force with invigoration. The final result was a powerful healing field capable of beating death as long as the subject's mana core was intact. In Falmug's case, however, Solus wasn't giving him any life force. Lith refused to have her tainting her noble spirit with such a human-faced monster. Falmug's spine recovered and so did his limbs. He was seconds away from fainting due to exhaustion when Lith used invigoration to restore his life force. Lith wouldn't let him get any respite. Even healing was an excruciating process since Solus was performing it without any kind of anesthesia. The bone fragments would dig through the flesh and blood vessels to return to their original position, opening new wounds at their passage. Falmug could feel his body constantly get torn apart and reconstructed. How does it feel, Ezio? Lith waited for him to have completely recovered before crushing his windpipe with a fist to the throat. How does it feel to be helpless against someone much bigger and stronger than you are? Falmug couldn't even breathe, let alone reply. His vision blurred before the array allowed him to breathe in fresh air again. How does it feel walking a mile in your children's shoes? A flick of Lith's finger and one of Falmug's nails flew off, spraying blood through the room as he screamed in agony. Your voice is definitely high-pitched for a god. The nail was still regrowing, biting the flesh on its way when another flew off. Falmug kept screaming, holding his right hand to defend it, just to have the fingernails on the left hand be ripped off all at once. The pain almost sent him into shock, but Solus's healing and Lith's life force saved his life again. Any last words? You will not get away with this. If I disappear? Then what? Who would even care? Your wife? Your children? Your family? Lith stomped on Falmug's kneecap with enough strength to almost cut the leg into two. The kingdom will never, Falmug attempted to say as soon as the pain allowed him to. Wrong. Lith stomped on the other leg, cutting him short and making Falmug grateful to the gods for giving him only 2 legs. The kingdom wouldn't give a damn, but death is too good for the likes of you. I will turn you into your wife. Lith's fingers' shape shifted into claws, piercing Falmug's eyes all the way to the brain. Just like she is your plaything, you shall be mine. I will beat you an inch from death every single day and then send you home unscathed. No one will hear your screams. Lith slammed his open palms against Falmug's ears, destroying his eardrums. Falmug lost control of his bladder as his world was now pitch black and devoid of sound. Solus only healed his ears, to make him feel like Zinnia did every day of her life. No one will witness what I'll do to you. Lith's knee struck Falmug's nether regions, turning his genitals into toothpaste. No matter who you ask for help, they'll just think you're crazy. No one will believe you. A jet of origin flames set Falmug ablaze as Solus kept the healing speed fast enough to keep him alive despite the flames eating his ever-regenerating flesh. Lith went outside, using his army amulet to create himself an alibi. The amulet pinpointed his position while he asked for updates from Commander Barian. The army would be his witness, stating that he was at his own house if anyone asked. When Lith returned to the tower, the flames were gone and Falmug was unconscious. His body couldn't take any more punishment without eating, Solus said. Well done. Lith's voice was joyless. He hated the idea of letting him live, but his disappearance would make Camilla ask questions he didn't want to lie about. They brought Falmug back in the tea room and prepared a new alarm array, this time above a cupboard. I always keep my promises, Lith said while embracing Zinnia and giving her another stick to replace the one she had consumed. What about Falmug? She asked. He is all right, but I doubt he'll touch you again for a long, long time. Between his studies at the academy and the time spent with Journey, Lith was an expert about the human body and mind. It would take Falmug days to recover from the physical exhaustion, but the mental trauma would last much longer, whereas he would return the following day to bring Zinnia to the academy's hospital to prepare her for the procedure. If anything happens, you know what to do. Remember, if anyone asks, I've not been here. Thank you so much. Zinnia buried her face into his chest. He might be a monster, but he's still the father of my children. Believe me, they are better off with their mother. Giving guys like him a second chance will bite back at you sooner or later. I'll pick you up tomorrow, so rest easy but keep the trigger always with you. Once you stop hearing my voice, count up to 10, and then use the handbell to summon the house staff. Falmug just had a stroke. Lith let her go and disappeared inside the warping mirror. When Zinnia started to scream for help, no one came. The house staff thought Falmug was beating her in a particularly vicious manner since she usually never yelled. Like anyone else in the house, Zinnia knew that it only made things worse. Oh, right, they must think that if they get in here, Falmug will pick on them too. Zinnia thought. Help, Falmug doesn't respond. When the servants arrived, they had to help Vilna first. She was still bleeding from her injuries and required a healer, whereas aside from being unconscious, Falmug was fit as a fiddle. The beating had taken less than half an hour, and before returning him to his home, Lith had erased all proof of what had happened with darkness magic and even ironed the man's pants and shirt. Falmug would be unconscious for days before his body and mind could overcome the trauma. Lith had made sure of it. Once he was back to Lucia, Lith kept researching the procedure to heal Zinnia until it was time to go back to Camilla's home. When she arrived, Camilla instantly noticed he was once again in a gloomy disposition, but after what had happened yesterday, her heart was at ease. What's the matter, babe? Another failed experiment? She sat on his lap, trying to kiss him, but Lith stopped her. She was shocked, it had never happened before. I wish. It's about Zinnia. Her dirtbag of a husband found out about our visit and tried to get even with her. Lith couldn't stand the thought that a man of the caliber of his Earth's father was still breathing even though he had all the opportunities to kill him. It made his face dark and his voice sour. Oh, gods, why didn't you contact me immediately? Is she all right? We need to go. Camila tried to stand up, but Lith grabbed her hand, with a firm but gentle touch. Supreme Magus, Web Novel, Chapter 604, Web of Lies Part 2. There's no need. Do you remember the mana crystals I left in the tea room and the promise I made to your sister? Lith asked. Camila nodded, yet she wasn't reassured by his words. Lith was too serious, he was clearly hiding something from her. I kept my word. I used the array to know when she was in danger and unleash a spell that reflected on Falmug all he did to Zinnia. He didn't harm a single hair of hers. That's great news. If everything is fine, then why the long face? She asked. Cammy, what I did is a crime. A blatant abuse of power made it worse by the fact that I left him alive. Now, I'm confessing my crime to you and entrusting you with the knowledge about a secret spell of mine at the same time. Do you understand how serious this is? His words wiped the smile from her face. I understand, she said after a moment of hesitation. You committed a crime to protect my sister and you're asking me if I can live with it, right? You're asking me if you can entrust your secrets to Camila the girlfriend without Yehaval the handler revealing them out of duty. Lith nodded, putting their relationship to the test for the first time. Just like he did with his academy's mates when he revealed to them his inhuman physical prowess. To him, it was a critical moment. He had not told her all the truth so that if Camila proved to be unworthy, he would risk nothing. A spell like the one he had described was out of a fairy tale. Even a first-year student would laugh at such a story. Zinnia had heard nothing while Falmug's story would be completely different from Camila's and even less believable. Not even Minoar could cover the distance from Lucia to Xylita in a matter of seconds. Thank you. Camila's voice was happy but broken. Small tears streamed down her face. Even though I have plenty of friends, I spent all my life alone because when push comes to shove, my burden was my own. When people heard about my problems, they would pity me and say a lot of nice words, but no one would do anything. Thank you for saving Zinnia at all costs. Thank you for taking to heart a problem that's not even yours and putting your career at risk for me. She sobbed, but she never stopped looking in his eyes. Most of all, thank you for trusting me so much. I don't care about my career. I'll do anything to protect your secret just like you did for me. She hugged him, hiding her face on his shoulder, trembling like a puppy scared by a clap of thunder. You're welcome, Lith replied, holding her tight. As I already told you before, being in a relationship means solving together problems that you wouldn't have alone. This means that sooner or later you'll get dragged into the mess that my life is. Are you up for that? He asked. Yes, I am, she said with all her heart. Yet Lith didn't shapeshift nor told her anything else. He just wiped the tears and the snot from her face before giving her a short, soft kiss. Now she's too clouded by her emotions. I have to wait until she is cool-headed again. Only then I will see her true reaction. Lith thought. Words were meaningless to him, only actions mattered. Tomorrow I'm going to speak with Professor Vaster about your sister and probably I'll have her admitted at the White Griffin Hospital for the procedure. Do you want to come with me? He held her face between his hands, gently caressing it. I wish I could, but I have to work. I shouldn't even be here. She sniffed. I'll try to be there for the intervention. Please, keep me posted. Lith nodded in reply. Do you want to get out for dinner or do you want to stay at home? He asked. I want to stay with you, was her reply. She refused to both release him from her embrace or stand up from his legs. Camila felt like his arms were her castle and his heart was her sky. She wanted that moment to last forever. Are you sure that nothing happened to Zinnia? She asked. Absolutely. Not only did the spell protect her, but it also gave me a full checkup of her condition. No harm came to her after our visit. Lith's voice was so confident that it made Camila's worries disappear. Lith had a hard time preparing dinner while never letting her go, managing to do it solely thanks to spirit magic and fire vision. When he attempted to spoon-feed her, she couldn't repress her chuckle anymore. You're the least romantic man I've ever known. Couldn't this wait a few hours? Maybe you were right, but I'm hungry and so are you. I can't feel the romance in the air with all this noise. Both of their stomachs had grumbled for a while before Lith started to cook. I know, stupid stomach, always ruins everything. It grumbled harder since she had refused the spoon and the smell of the food was delicious. You're too good a cook. It's all your fault if I get fat. The first bite was enough to make Camila realize that between her long day at work and all those emotions, she had worked quite an appetite. Hands off my plate, woman. Lith rebuked her merrily as she exploited being on his legs to eat from both plates. Make me, she said while feeding him. The next morning Lith hadn't slept much, again, but he was definitely happy about his past night. Camila had refused to let him go even during the morning shower, giving to his day a really pleasant start. One thing is for sure. If you two keep up like this, Camila will lose weight fast. Solus, that's dirty, Lith rebuked her. Hello, Pot, my name is Kettle and I'm black, she sneered. He left Belius for the White Griffin Academy, where Professor Zogar Vaster and Kyla were waiting for him. Lith, my boy, it's so good to see you again. It would be much better if you didn't visit or call only when you need something, though. I know we are both busy men, but it's kind of rude anyway. That's exactly what I told him, Professor. Kyla nodded. I apologize to both of you, Lith said, having a hard time to repress a sigh of annoyance. I've consulted all the material Kyla sent me and I'd like to hear your opinion about the different approaches I devised. Hold your horses, Lith. No competent healer would give their opinion based on a hologram, no matter how good it is. We need to see the patient. I've taken the liberty of setting the gate's coordinates to Xylita already. Vaster stood up abruptly. How he managed to do it without wobbling despite his egg-shaped body was still a mystery to Lith. When they reached the Sarda household, the servants quaked in their boots, not daring to say anything. One mage was terrifying, but three at once were the stuff nightmares were made of.